Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and this is Voice of the Global South. All right then, let's get started. On the show this week, separatists hijack a train in Balochistan, a region plagued by a decades-long insurgency. Stuck in space for 9 months and counting, Sunita Williams' ordeal will likely end soon. 1,500 killed in sectarian violence in Syria. Can Ahmad al-Sharaa unify the war-torn country? All that and much more coming up on Voice of the Global South. Pakistani security forces stormed a train on Wednesday that had been hijacked, killing all 33 attackers and ending a day-long standoff involving hundreds of hostages. On Tuesday, Baloch separatists blew up the railway track and hurled rockets at the Jafar Express, which operates between Peshawar in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province and Balochistan's capital of Quetta. The train was carrying 440 people. 21 passengers and 4 security personnel were killed over the course of the standoff. The BLA is the largest of several ethnic Baloch armed groups battling the government of Pakistan. It has in recent months stepped up its activities using new tactics to inflict high death and injury tolls and target Pakistan's military. The hijackers intercepted the train inside a tunnel and detonated explosives to damage the tracks, forcing the engine to come to a halt. They killed the driver of the train.
People were attacked and the attackers caused a lot of damages to the passengers. Passengers were injured and some passengers died.
Pakistani forces engaged in an intense gunfight with the rebels after surrounding the tunnel. A section of the hijackers were reported to have split into smaller groups and fled into the mountains, taking some hostages with them. The security forces were in pursuit, but the rugged terrain made rescue operations that much more challenging. The hijackers had demanded the release of Baloch political prisoners and missing persons. They threatened to destroy the train and execute a certain number of passengers if their demands were not met. They allegedly separated passengers based on their identities, particularly targeting those from the province of Punjab. A passenger who managed to escape after trekking for 4 hours through the mountains recounted that the hijackers shot 2 soldiers and took away certain passengers based on their identity cards. Junior Interior Minister Talal Chaudhary told GeoTV that the hijackers were wearing suicide vests, further complicating the rescue efforts. Chaudhary said that the Pakistani Air Force and Special Forces had been pressed into action. A makeshift hospital had been set up in the area to provide medical aid to the rescued hostages. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned the attack, calling it a cowardly act carried out during the holy month of Ramzan. Now, Balochistan has seen a surge in violence in recent months. In November, a suicide blast at Quetta railway station killed 26 people and injured 62. In August, 39 people were killed when a Baloch outfit attacked police stations, railway lines and highways in a coordinated manner. 34 more were killed in retaliation by the Pakistani security forces. The 34 included Pakistani soldiers and police personnel and the attackers themselves.
It is a difficult time for the entire nation. Our security situation is not that ideal, but it also has its own factors. The government of Balochistan and its security operators are trying their best to improve the security.
The hijacking has once again drawn attention to the worsening security situation in Balochistan, a region plagued by separatist insurgency and state crackdowns. The Baloch insurgency has been around for more than 7 decades, but it has taken a serious turn. Baloch leader Akbar Bukhti was killed by Pakistani security forces in 2006 when General Pervez Musharraf was in power. Bukhti's killing fueled the fifth and fiercest round of insurgency in Balochistan, and it continues to this day. The 4 previous insurgencies took place in 1948, 1958, 1968 and 1973. The Baloch have been systematically, clinically and brazenly exploited and discriminated against, tortured by Pakistan's Punjabi army, looted by China's communists and hated by Iran's clerics. Balochistan has become a land where anti-Punjabi, anti-Pakistan and anti-China sentiments converge. The Baloch versus Punjabi ethnic fault line is a story that threatens to snowball into a wider conflict, one that could have disastrous consequences for Pakistan. The Punjabis are the largest of the 6 main ethnic groups in Pakistan. They dominate the military and other arms of the Pakistani state. The real estate in Balochistan is exploited by the rich landed gentry from Lahore and other cities in the Punjab province. Simply put, the Punjabis are well entrenched in Pakistani society, and that is why the Baloch complain that their land has become a colony of the Punjabi elite. The Baloch have other grievances too. For one, Balochistan lacks the rest of Pakistan insofar as education, employment and economic development are concerned. Baloch separatist groups such as the BLA say that they've been fighting for decades for a larger share in the regional wealth of mines and minerals denied by the Pakistani government. Then there is the issue of enforced disappearances. The counter-terrorist department of the government is accused of carrying out abductions and arbitrary killings. Locals say the department is notorious for its so-called death squads. They claim that what is happening to them is a genocide under the guise of targeted killings. Sunita Williams and a fellow astronaut are set to return to Earth after spending 9 months in space. Ragini Sudhir Chore has the details.
Grabbing onto other pieces that we...
Sunita Williams and her fellow astronaut Bally Wilmer were supposed to return to Earth after a quick 10-day mission in June of 2024. Little did they know, they'll be stuck for 9 months on the International Space Station. The two are finally preparing to come home, but not before making history in ways no one could have predicted. Williams and Wilmer are expected to return to Earth on 17th March. Williams, a seasoned astronaut who spent more than 274 consecutive days in space and a record-breaking 62 hours of spacewalk, handed over the command of the International Space Station to Russian cosmonaut Alexei Ovechkin on Tuesday.
Don't worry, you are leaving station in good hands. We will miss you.
We will miss you, Williams said as she handed over the command of the space station to him.
Hey, thank you for everybody for joining us, and we have cake to celebrate the situation.
We are ready.
We are always ready.
Williams and Wilmer were launched aboard Boeing Starliner on 5th June last year. Their goal, to test the Starliner's capabilities for a crewed flight. But things quickly went south.
NASA has decided that Butch and Sonny will return with Crew 9 next February, and that Starliner will return uncrewed.
Once they arrived at the space station, the spacecraft encountered a series of catastrophic failures, from thruster malfunction to dangerous helium leak. The most advanced spacecraft in the world had grounded its crew in orbit. By the time Starliner capsule was declared unsafe for re-entry, NASA was forced to devise a new plan.
The astronauts couldn't just sit in space indefinitely, and so began a lengthy wait. A rescue mission was arranged, but delays piled up like layers of space dust. A series of setbacks left Williams and Wilmer stranded in space for far longer than expected, with no clear end in sight. By August 2024, a plan was devised. The pair would return aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule, not on the Starliner. But a series of delays meant that they would have to wait until March to bring a spectacular close, what has become one of the longest, most unexpected space missions in human history. Starliner was launched on 5th June 2024. The next day, that is 6th June, Starliner docked at the space station. On 18th June, Starliner was scheduled to return to Earth, but NASA delayed it till August. On 7th August, NASA said the two astronauts could return on SpaceX Crew Dragon in February if Starliner is still deemed unsafe for it. But on 24th August, NASA announced the astronauts will return with SpaceX Crew in February, not on Boeing Starliner. On 11 February, NASA announced that astronauts will head home on SpaceX Dragon capsule that will take a new crew to the space station. And on 15th March, Crew 10 mission was launched from the Kennedy Space Center in the US state of Florida.
3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go SpaceX, go NASA Crew 10.
On your left-hand screen, you can see a view from stage 1.
And there we have our first images of the crew inside the Dragon spacecraft as they make their way into orbit.
My family and friends, without you, I would not be here. Explore boldly, live gracefully, go Crew 10.
The final twist in this tale of space misadventure came from an unlikely source, SpaceX. Under Elon Musk's leadership, SpaceX has already launched a Crew Dragon capsule to bring the stranded astronauts back to Earth, but the capsule was ordered to stand down. It further delayed their return to Earth.
We offered to bring them back early. This offer was rejected by the Biden administration.
Why?
For political reasons.
That's so crazy.
There's no way that they're going to make anyone who's supporting Trump look good.
Wow.
They can only get them back with a SpaceX spacecraft, but they pushed the return date past the inauguration date. The SpaceX Dragon spacecraft is the only one that is considered safe enough to bring them back. So NASA concluded that the Boeing spacecraft was not safe, so that's why they're stuck there.
The Crew 10 team will bring with them NASA astronauts Annie McLean and Nicole Ayers, Japanese astronaut Takuya Onishi, and Russian cosmonaut Kirill Peskov. With them, Williams and Wilmer will finally make their way back to Earth. Williams and her colleagues dedicated a majority of their time to exploring life in space, researching, conducting experiments such as growing lettuce in space. They also investigated how microgravity influences the production of bacteria and yeast. Amid the delays, there were moments of political drama. Back on Earth, US President Donald Trump publicly authorized Musk to bring the astronauts home, calling the situation a national priority.
We love you and we're coming up to get you, and you shouldn't have been up there so long. The most incompetent president in our history has allowed that to happen to you. But this president won't let it happen. We're going to get them out. We're coming up to get you. I've authorized Elon. I said, can you get them out? Because, they've been left up there. I hope they like each other. But maybe they'll love each other. I don't know. But they've been left up there. Think of it. And I see the woman with the wild hair, a good solid head of hair she's got. There's no kidding. There's no games with her hair. But, and there's a danger up there, too. They can have some failures up there that would be very bad. You got to get them out.
His theatrical remark was a reminder of the extraordinary lengths to which governments and companies are willing to go to ensure the safe return of the astronauts. Trump has sought to use the crisis to attack his predecessor, Joe Biden. In a White House statement, Trump blamed Biden for abandoning the astronauts in the space. He said Biden had left them there and showed his anger over the inaction. Trump even said he had called upon Elon Musk to help and that Musk was planning to launch a rescue mission for the astronauts within a couple of weeks. Trump also claimed that Biden was embarrassed by the episode and had not acted quickly enough. What stands out is the resilience of the human spirit. What was supposed to be a short mission is now a story of international collaboration, tech innovation, and the will to overcome the odds. It's a testament to the unpredictable nature of space travel, where even the best laid plans can go awry. Williams and Wilmer would soon be returning to Earth after what has truly been an odyssey in space. They'll return to the world they left behind nearly a year ago, finally completing a journey that started with high hopes but took a detour that no one saw coming. Ragini Sudhir Chore for DD India.
Today, 15th of March, is the anniversary of the civil war in Syria. It began in 2011 in the wake of the so-called Arab Spring that first erupted in Tunisia and then spread to other countries in the region, eventually toppling the long-time rulers such as Hosni Mubarak in Egypt, Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, and Ben Ali in Tunisia. But Syria's Bashar al-Assad survived until fate caught up with him. On 8th December 2024, Islamist rebels led by Ahmad al-Shura, also known as Abu Muhammad al-Julani, and his group, the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, launched a lightning offensive that toppled Assad, ending the 50-year rule by the Assad family. Assad fled to Russia, leaving behind a country scarred by conflict. The Syrian civil war began when a 15-year-old boy, Muawiyah Syasneh, and his friends sprayed anti-government graffiti on the wall of their school in the town of Daraa. It read, "It's your turn, doctor," referring to Assad's training as an ophthalmologist. Fearful that Syria would see street demonstrations similar to those in countries across North Africa and West Asia, security forces loyal to Assad were keeping watch for even the slightest signs of dissent. So, when the feared Mukhabarat or Syrian intelligence got wind of the graffiti, it swooped down on Syasneh and arrested him. He was interrogated and tortured. Protests broke out in Daraa and across Syria on 15th March 2011, marking the start of the civil war. After his father was killed by a rocket attack in 2013 as he walked to the mosque, Syasneh decided to pick up a weapon and fight with the Free Syrian Army, a loose coalition of rebel groups made up mainly of army deserters. Now a father himself, Syasneh says Assad's overthrow brought the joy of victory alongside great bitterness. Bitterness, not least because of the heavy toll it took on the people of Syria. Death and destruction were all pervasive. Some estimates put the death toll at 600,000. Imagine 600,000 dead in 14 years. But get this, in the past week alone, more than 1,500 people were killed in sectarian violence. That's twice the number of people who died per week in all these 14 years. These reprisal killings or revenge killings are said to be the worst violence seen in Syria in years.
Clashes across Syria. The death toll is now more than 1,300, and most of the victims are civilians.
Syria's interim leader is calling for national unity after days of clashes and revenge killings.
The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights called the killings massacres.
The fighting then spreading with revenge killings for those deaths, with reports of mass executions and entire families killed.
This is extremely important because extremely critical for Syria, because this is bringing up a sectarian tension.
After Assad's fall, his loyalists either fled Syria or holed up in the provinces of Latakia and Tartus on the Mediterranean coast. The region is a stronghold of the Assad clan, which belongs to a minority Shia Islamic sect called Alawites. From December onwards, al-Sharah's forces have carried out extensive campaigns to root out Assad loyalists from his former bastions. People have reported violations during those campaigns, including the seizing of homes, field executions and kidnappings. The latest round of violence began to spiral on 6th March when Assad loyalists ambushed al-Sharah's men, killing a dozen of them. Soon the fighting escalated. The Sunni Islamist-led government poured reinforcements into the area to crush the remnants of the Assad government. Convoys of armored vehicles carrying troops could be seen on the roads day and night. Images on social media showed security forces on trucks driving past thick black smoke that drifted over the road on their way to the coastal cities. What ensued was a pitched battle street by street between the Islamist forces and the remnants of the ousted Bashar al-Assad's regime. The London-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights put the death toll at more than 1,500, an overwhelming majority of whom were civilians, including women and children. It reported widespread and indiscriminate killings and summary executions and ethnic cleansing. Videos obtained from social media showed several bodies scattered on the streets in Latakia. Many civilians were caught in the crossfire. A local resident said he was shot while heating a meal for his son in his kitchen and was taken to hospital by his neighbors.
I was heating food for my 7-year-old son near the window when he went upstairs. Suddenly, gunfire erupted from the tall buildings. They shot at us. One bullet hit my hand and another barely missed me. I started bleeding.
Others voiced dread over the resurgence of violence driven by revenge.
We don't want a sectarian war. We want to rebuild our country. We don't want bloodshed, neither from us nor them, because it won't change anything. There are those who benefit from war and don't want Syria to recover. They profit while civilians on both sides suffer. We want peace and we want our country to heal.
Hundreds of people have protested to condemn the violence. Protesters held pictures of those killed in clashes in Latakia, Tartus and Jable, as well as other coastal cities and villages. Gunshots rent the air as protesters gathered in Damascus. The interim government headed by al-Sharah has since announced the end of the military operation against Assad loyalists.
We confirm that we will hold accountable with all firmness and without leniency anyone who was involved in the bloodshed of civilians or harmed our people, or who exceeded the powers of the state or exploited power to achieve his own goals.
Al-Sharah has promised accountability and an investigation after global condemnation began pouring in from United Nations Rights Chief Volker Turk and the Arab League to US Secretary of State Marco Rubio and British Foreign Secretary David Lammy. The UN Human Rights Office said that entire Alawite families, including women and children, were killed in the coastal region. Now, Alawites make up around 9% of the Syrian population, but they were heavily represented in military and government institutions during the Assad's 5-decade rule. Today, the Alawite heartland has been gripped by fear of reprisals, which included widespread torture and disappearances. An analyst at the Century International think tank says al-Sharah lacks the tools, incentives and local support base to engage with disgruntled Alawites. All they have is repressive power, and a lot of that is made up of jihadist zealots who think Alawites are enemies of God. Al-Sharah has since taken two key decisions. One, set up a new National Security Council and to sign a landmark deal with the Syrian Kurds. Now, the 10th March agreement paves the way for Kurdish-led forces which hold a quarter of Syria to merge with Damascus. Key details of how this will happen have not been spelt out yet, but the agreement could stave off further conflict in a Syria fractured by 14 years of war. Al-Sharad's group, the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham or HTS, has its roots in the Syrian branch of Al-Qaeda. It is still listed as a terrorist organization by the US and other governments as well. Al-Shara is a former member of Al-Qaeda and the IS. The US had put a bounty of $10 million on his head. The group has sought to moderate its image in recent years. Al-Shara himself has ditched military fatigues and headscarf for Western attire. But don't be fooled, warned Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar. He told German newspaper Bild that Al-Shara and his men were jihadists and remain jihadists even if they now wear suits. His advice? Don't rush into giving legitimacy to Al-Shara and the HTS. And with that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Voice of the Global South. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.